The really cool thing about the Airline Trail is it is now actually a state park, and it's managed by the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, their Parks Division. And so it took quite a few years to get all the right-of-ways set, and in the Last Green Valley, it's a continuous trail all the way from downtown Willimantic to, actually goes all the way through, comes from Lebanon. But there's a section all the way from Willimantic all the way to Pomfret, and it's like 20 miles. Takes its name from the imaginary line drawn from New York to Boston. On the way to Boston, through this section, it overcame tremendous obstacles in Connecticut's eastern highlands. We don't think about this as being highlands, but it's, you know, it's not like New Hampshire or Vermont, but certainly if you walk around the ridges and valleys and of course overcoming all of that. Construction began in the late 1860s, and by 1870 the first construction milestone, track from New Haven to Middletown, was celebrated. 3 years later, in 1873, the line was completed as far as Windham. Further east, another entity laid rails from Windham to Connecticut border, and then for the connection to Boston. And here a major obstacle was crossing the Quinebaug River. Construction was completed in 1872, and within a year, the original plan had come to fruition. This is a feature that was built by the railroad, late 19th, early 20th century. This was farmland, right? So everything would have been cleared out. A lot of open space that we wouldn't have as many, all the trees we have grown up since the decline of agriculture. It's easier to move the livestock from one field to the other by going over the track.
Wow.
And so that's what this was. And it was made with, you know, the creosoted type of material. I wouldn't want to walk on it. This is pretty much the rail bed. Yeah. You know, this hill was here. There's some sections, well, back there where you see it was, you know, they had to build up quite a bit. But this was how wide it was. So I'm pretty sure that's Mass. See that barrier there? Different color, yeah. So that should be Douglas State Park. If you look at the map, you realize we're only in a small little section. And then this is the trail up the hill. This is Connecticut and Mass.
Okay.
So Connecticut here, yep. T for Thompson. Mass here, D for Douglas. Nice view from up here. I don't know. It looks like most of these trees still have remains of some leaves, so I don't think this got hit too hard. Without really looking close, I think these are mostly black oak. Black oak tend to have more of it's very much like a red oak. It's a similar type of leaf as a red oak. Points on it, but they tend to sprout a lot more smaller branches. The land we're on now is probably either part of Douglas State Park or Buck Hill is the one in Rhode Island.
You know, sight in your hand.
Yeah.
I'm in Rhode Island. You're in Connecticut. Now I'm in Massachusetts. Well, this one was put in 1883. Thompson has a great trails committee, and they do a lot of trail work. They lead a lot of hikes, and it's a very active committee. And one of the things that we've been doing with the Last Green Valley is we've been doing what's called trail assessment for slope for people with mobility impairment. And now we've been doing the Airline Trail, and in particular, I mean, the problem with the Airline Trail for access mobility, as you could see, once you're on the trail, it's great. But if you're in a chair, getting off of that road and up that hill. And then because of the gates to prevent motorized vehicles, it makes it difficult, obviously, for someone with a wheelchair also. So at each of the trailheads, there'll be a post with information exactly on what the slope is going to be and all that. They say that the different zones of the oaks, the nut trees, the mass trees, will sort of synchronize somehow. And the reason why you have a heavy mast year and then years without a heavy mast year is if they did the average amount of acorns every year, there's going to be a lot more predation of the nuts, right? So if they have none for a period of years, and then they flood the zone, so to speak. So there's much greater opportunity for seedlings. Blue jays they can fit 2 or 3 in their mouths, down in their gullet, and they go out and they actually, deposit them in the ground, come back to later the way a squirrel does. But the blue jays are real smart. They'll pick up an acorn and they'll shake it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't rattle, they know it's viable. Goes in quite a ways.
Yeah,
It's an old Yankee root cellar. The stone that's in the back side has been worked. It's been flattened. It's it's dry stone, but someone has worked that stone. The natives didn't build things like that.
Yeah.
It continues on all the way down to, goes underneath 395, and it'll come out on Route 12, right by the Corps of Engineer spot, and that's probably a good 10 miles or so.